I don't know about you, but the very thought of dealing with money as a game developer scares the heck out of me. When you start the game development process, it's all about the passion, the excitement of bringing those ideas that live in your head to life. If your dream is to do this on a larger scale, somewhere along the way, the reality of money and all that comes with it, all the taxes, the fees, all that junk, it seeps into the excitement of it all. Game dev shifts from creativity to trying to figure out if you can afford the journey in the first place. And you start to wonder, is it worth the headache? Is it worth the stress of maybe worrying about tax evasion? And if you've committed it without knowing it, and are you going to go to jail? It's insane, And my brain wants money, not to have money, but I want that success that allows me to do this for the rest of my life. But it comes with yet another mountain of things to learn. So yeah, money scares the heck out of me as a game developer. But should it? How should we look at and approach money if it's something that we want to take seriously? I'm going to share with you how I've been approaching it with a developer mindset. A mindset that I hope we all share so that maybe you might not fear it so much. I want to be very clear, I'm not here to give financial advice or what you should do. It's just how I've been doing it, and maybe it's helpful. Let's get into it. So as many of you know, I recently made Soul Engine an actual business recognized by the state. That is a huge step, but a scary one. I've gone from just creating games to now having to manage taxes, expenses, and trying to figure out where the revenue is coming from. The very little revenue is coming from. Honestly, I figured it'd be paperwork, but there's so much more than meets the eye. Like 100 times more. And while it's added a lot of pressure, it's also opened my eyes to how important it is to understand the business side of things. Obviously, if this is the journey you want to take, it's something that we all have to learn. But like I said earlier, as a developer, I feel like we have an advantage in this realm. Let me explain. As developers, first and foremost, we're problem solvers. Think about it. When you first started, you didn't know anything about game development. You didn't know how to code, you didn't know how to do art, you knew nothing. You approached game development by learning bit by bit, testing things, seeing what worked, what didn't, and fixing everything else. It's the same with money. You don't need to know everything at once. You take small steps, just like you would in your development project. And it's the same with money. You don't need to know everything at once. Don't let that fear of the unknown paralyze you. I say that as someone who absolutely is paralyzed by this. It scares the heck out of me, man. It scares me. It keeps me up at night. I really don't want to mess up. I can't allow it to do that to me. I'm not always perfect, but I need to stay ahead of myself with it. Just like game dev, every step you take teaches you something new. Money might seem like a giant thing. I mean, it is huge, but it's just another system to learn. So with that in mind, let's keep moving. Do you remember when you made your first game? It probably wasn't some open world RPG, MMO, first person shooter, crazy game or something massive. Hopefully it wasn't that. You started small. Maybe something like a, 2D platformer, a little puzzle game, something small. It's the same with money. You don't need to tackle every financial challenge at once. Start by learning the basics, how to budget a project, manage small expenses, track your income. All of those things sound huge. Just take it on a tiny bit here and a tiny bit there and a tiny bit here and a tiny bit there. Take it on one small step at a time. Track your steps. Once you get comfortable with that, you can move on to bigger things like managing taxes or figuring out what's the best price for your game. Maybe you already know the price of your game. Maybe that's actually one of the easier steps. I'm not sure. Approach it like you would a game jam though. You know me, I love game jams. Learn the core mechanics first, and then expand. And when you're stuck in game dev, what do? You're gonna get stuck in money. So let's apply the game dev aspect. What do you do when you're stuck in game dev? You look to other devs for help. Follow tutorials. You ask help from people who have been there before. What are you gonna do with that? The same goes for money. There are financial advisors. There's accountants. There's devs who have already been where you have been. And I would encourage everybody to look at your local schools, your local colleges, universities. Many of them offer free financial advice, free small business advice. Some of them do. There's a local one near me who I'm actually meeting with next Friday. He's gonna sit down with me and go over some of my paperwork, all for free. It's super cool. Be sure to look around your local hotspots. Hotspots? Schools? I don't know. Just look around you, see what's available. There's absolutely no shame in asking for help, especially when it comes with money. In fact, it's probably the smartest move you can make. Surround yourself with people who know more than you, learn from them, and just like you would do when you're learning a new game engine, ask for help. There's a whole community of people who understand the business side of game dev that can guide guide you through the crazy process. And actually, they probably would get a lot of joy from helping you, because it's actually not a very talked about subject. So just like jams can help you hone your development craft and, puts you under the pressure of deadlines and things that you don't always get into in the beginning stages of the development process, you can do the same with money. Jams, man, they're miracles. I'm just gonna say it. Set yourself up with, smart goals and, little challenges. They don't have to mean a lot. They don't have to have a ton of weight on them, but maybe start by setting up a mock small budget for a game, or plan a game's launch. It doesn't have to be a real launch, but these little challenges will help you get comfortable with managing money without feeling overwhelmed by the weight of reality. Because reality will come, but it doesn't have to come all right away. It's about building confidence over time and not diving into the deep end right away. Like I said, you're not making an RPG for your first game, hopefully. Maybe you are. Lots of people say you should start small with smaller games. And the more financial jams you do, the more comfortable you'll get with the whole process. Just like game jams. Do money jams. Matthew 2024. In game dev, though, bugs happen. Mistakes happen. Life happens. And what do we do when bugs happen? What do we all do? We know what to do, right? Do we panic? Do we give up when they pop up? Heck no, we don't. We troubleshoot and we debug and we fix them eventually, hopefully. Sometimes there are game-breaking bugs, and those are terrifying. But do we give up? Sometimes we do. But we shouldn't. It's the same with money. You're going to make mistakes. It's inevitable. But instead of letting those mistakes scare you, treat them like bugs in your financial system. Learn from them, adjust, and move forward. You wouldn't let a bug stop you from finishing your game. So don't let a financial mistake stop you from pursuing your development dream. The key is persistence. Persistence. Keep going, both in game dev and in your financial journey. One tiny micro step at a time. In game development, you're constantly learning new things. From programming languages to learning new dimensions. This is crazy stuff, Money management is just another skill set on the list. It's something you can learn, you practice, you get better at over time. Think of it like you're playing an RPG, You got your strength stat up, you got your speed stat up, you got all these skill stats up. Your money is just another skill set. You gotta boost it. You gotta go grind it, Gotta go to the dungeon that is easy for you and then build up, get some new weapons, Build that money stat up. It's a weird analogy, but you probably get it, I hope. As you gain more experience though, managing taxes, budgeting, all that stuff becomes less scary and more of a natural part of the process. I say that as someone terrified of it, absolutely horrified, but I'm setting myself up with some micro steps. I'm learning. I'm meeting with an advisor here on Friday, well, in a few days, and I still don't understand everything that has to do with taxes, but they're going to help me, and I'm going to continue to learn, and we're going to move forward. Micro steps, baby. Let's keep moving. And the best part of it all is that you're a game developer. You're a game developer. You're perfect at this. You learn something new every day, probably. You're constantly testing yourself against the odds, Bugs, crazy bugs come in all the time. That hasn't stopped you in the past. You learned. You seeked help. So this is just another bug. Just another thing to learn. Something to grow and learn from. So should money scare you? Honestly, yeah. But that fear should propel you into learning more and not paralyze you. Because not moving forward is worse than a lot of other things. Approach it the same way you do making games. One micro step at a time. Because here's the deal. If you can learn how to make a flipping game with 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, music, lighting, art, blah, blah, blah. There's like 1,000 moving parts. If you can do that, this money thing should be a cakewalk. Micro steps. As long as you're moving forward, as long as you're consistently learning things, you're gonna have the edge. And don't go it alone. Don't go it alone. There's people out there who would love to help you. Like I said, look at your local offerings from your schools, from your colleges, universities. There might be some free stuff out there that can help you out. That can give you the confidence that you need to make those micro steps. Drop a comment if you feel the same way about money as I do. Does it scare the poop out of you? It scares me a lot sometimes. But when you're taking micro steps, keyword here, when you're taking micro steps, those little steps aren't so scary. If you like content like this, leave a comment below, hit that like button, subscribe, hit us up on Wednesday. I'll be live streaming, join the Discord, all that stuff. But don't be afraid of money, because it's just another thing to learn. You got this. I believe in you. I'll see you next time.